Roger Sprague.
Here.
Dick Anderson.
Here.
Gordon Eggleton. Here. Gary Ellingson.
He's on his way in.
Chester Norikis.
Here.
Wes Ryan.
Here.
And Henry Quant.
Here.
There's Gary. Okay, I have any citizens signed up to speak before the agency? Okay, they have not. Are there any citizens in the audience who would like to speak before the agency? Seeing none, we'll proceed. We have two sets of minutes that need to be approved at this meeting. I think I'll take them one at a time. The October 13th, 2014, are there any additions or corrections that need to be made?
I move we accept the minutes of October 13th, 2014 as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. Motion's carried. The second set of minutes, October 27th, 2014. Any corrections or additions?
I move we accept the minutes of October 27th, 2014 as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Special order of business presentations. Number one, we have number 4 on the agenda, which is the update on the open space maintenance activities. However, that's going to be postponed until next meeting. So we have the Economic Development Toolbox.
Good evening.
Mr. Olson.
Good evening. Even though people always had tended to look towards the Urban Renewal Agency when economic development issues came up, or how the city could carry out some economic development opportunity, our plan had severely limited what type of participation we can do. As you know, there are 19 projects in the plan, some very specific, like build a park at the river, and some at Sluts Bay, some very general, like build sidewalks. And the thought was that most of those things have some degree of economic development in them, but we didn't really have a project in our plan that was economic development. So in 2009, when we did our first, one of our substantial amendments, we decided to add to our plan the topic of the project of economic development. And part of that was to come up with some ideas of what types of things the Urban Renewal Agency would be able to do to encourage economic development. So after that was passed, we then went out and met with many business leaders through town, spent quite a bit of time with the Small Business Development Center, actually went across the state and talked to many professionals that do economic development. We came up with a list of 22 ideas that people use for economic development in Oregon, and a few ideas that were maybe not quite used yet, but people thought they were good ideas if they could get them off the ground. So we presented that to the agency back in 2012, and the agency selected three projects off that list to start with, see how that would roll out. So we added those to our facade improvement plan, our loan program. And so what was selected was a business expansion program to encourage expansion of existing businesses in town. The energy efficiency program, which would allow us to participate with people that want to upgrade their businesses efficiently with different types of energy-related activities. And a project that we called program support, where we could provide funding to entities within the city that are actually doing economic development, and with a little bit of boost from funds from the Urban Renewal Agency, they can continue to do what they do, and then that would be a benefit to the district, and yet the district wouldn't have to recreate the wheel. We would just be able to piggyback on something that was already taken care of. So we still have this list of many options. I think you saw it in your packet, this list. And on that list, there's one option on there that hasn't been implemented yet that we'd like to talk to you about tonight. What we're talking about tonight is not approving a downtown manager. It is taking it off the list and putting it in the toolbox, and so that we can do that in the future. So this is to create a pilot program. This will be a pilot program to hire a downtown manager that would work with an existing business association of some sort, whether it's a merchants association, chamber of commerce, those types of things, that work with local businesses that either are specific to one area of town, or maybe there'd be multiple areas of town. As you know, we've had multiple meetings on this. We've discussed it quite a bit. We had a workshop. We brought in a person that had spent quite a bit of her career as the downtown manager in McMinnville, and we were able to get a lot of our questions answered that we wanted to have answered. So this would fund a position as a pilot project for 2 years, and after that 2 years, then the program would have to then stand on its own legs, and it'd have to find its own funding. But this would be able to get it up and running, show the merchants its benefit, and then hopefully they would be able to find a way to keep it running. So we have sufficient funds in our budget. As you know, we have about $370,000 budgeted towards our loan programs, and we have about $80,000 budgeted for the grant program, and then there's additional funds beyond that that can fund a program such as this. So again, like I said, what we're doing this evening is just asking you to consider taking it off of the list and putting it in the quiver of opportunities that we can use as the future dictates. As you know, we have been having some discussions about this. The idea was brought forth by a downtown association, or downtown merchants association, and that's why how the discussion got started. With us also this evening is Dave Price, who is with the Small Business Development Center, and he's more than happy to come forward and answer any questions that you might have about how a partnership might look between the agency and the Small Business Development Center. And I think I've said what I need to say, but I'm more than happy to answer questions and participate in a discussion.
Any questions or discussion?
Mr. Chairman, Kurt, looking at the staff memo and stuff, and you're right, we've had a lot of discussion on this, and the work session I thought was very helpful and engaging. You know, looking at in the scope of the recommendation, as you've described, it moves it from the list on into the toolbox. Good description. But it appears that staff then would be developing the program a bit more. Could you talk about, assume that it gets in the toolbox, what would happen before agency would entertain a yes/no?
Sure.
Something.
Sure. So if you approve this evening, then we will go back and we have a preliminary proposal that we've been working on with one of the downtown associations. And so before this was approved, we didn't want to spend too much time developing this detailed scope of how this program would work. So we'll take that out, and we will sit down and have some more meetings about that proposal and how they want to make that proposal to you. And then you would see then just a proposal with a lot more detail in it, and funding numbers and that sort of thing, and how the partnership would work specifically with the Small Business Development Center.
And Mr. Chairman, Kurt, that would also then, that application and request then would come before the agency. So this match up and see. So the only action tonight is getting it into the toolbox, and then it gives the field open to apply for that program.
Yep.
Other questions? Perhaps we could have Mr. Price come up and talk a little bit about the partnership between the two entities.
Good evening. Excuse me. Dave Price, 248 Bear Creek Road in Otis. Be happy to address that. And I didn't bring the original package that we first drafted with the Bay Area Merchants Association, but when I was approached by Alex Ward, and I'm actually here tonight on his behalf, he's traveling overseas and couldn't be here this evening. Yeah, I guess my message is we were interested some months ago when this first came about, and the college remains interested now to be able to provide whatever support we could for this program, insofar as basically when this was presented, it was the idea that sort of germinated with the Bay Area Merchants Association, and while they're a very active group and they've done a number of impressive things without any kind of staff up to this point over the last number of years, the idea that they could find a place to house or locate this person it just isn't within their resources. They don't have an office that they can make available. We're in the area. We're BAMA members, of course, and we thought that if we could provide an office space in that area for this person, they would have access to our office equipment and to the phones and internet and of course our meeting spaces, perhaps most importantly, to help facilitate the kinds of relationship building that I think to be successful in this 2-year period this job's going to need to do. There's a lot of work to be done in this position should it come to pass. So we just sort of wanted to take the infrastructure issue off the table and say this isn't the problem, and if it's going to fly, it won't, or not. If it were to fail, it wouldn't be for lack of resources to be able to do those sort of basic, 8 to 5 work things.
Okay. Any questions of either one?
David, good explanation. Does that offer stand for any other? I know you've been working with one specific merchant association, but would that partnership potentially be offered for others as well?
Yeah, the idea was, I wish I'd brought the numbers that we had originally put together. I know those numbers were more like estimates, but we applied some sort of I guess administrative fee, because I think one of the other issues was that BAMA wasn't in a position to actually employ this person, and so we were going to solve that by using a local vendor as a Lincoln City. What is the word I'm looking for? Temporary employment agency, who can go out and help recruit just those people that with those qualifications that they might look for, whatever those might wind up being. And so to answer your question, we built a pricing program that basically ensured that we were covering the college's costs, because we didn't want to be in a situation where we could ever say, oh, the college is underwriting the cost of this for this merchant group or that merchant group, and so we had to be away from that. And so once we're comfortable that that's not the case, certainly this model could be applied to anything in a similar situation. We have no reason, we're members of lots of civic organizations, and economic development is one of our goals, and so whoever's deploying that, we'd be happy to talk.
Great.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? I'm assuming, Mr. Olson, you want us to act this evening about
That would be great.
putting that into the toolbox, so to
That would
speak?
be great. And I think so. It's just an authorization to proceed with this program as an option, and direct us then to look at developing a more complete program scope to present to you.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the agency?
I'd make the motion to have the agency authorized to proceed with a new economic development program, downtown manager, into the toolbox, and direct staff to develop program scoping details for approval by agency.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
Any discussion? Let's have a roll call, please.
Sprague,
Yes.
Norikis,
Yes.
Quant,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Eggleton, and Ellingson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you very much, gentlemen. Next order of business is public hearing. We don't have one. Same with resolutions. How about comments from agency members? Mr. Ryan? Mr. Ellingson?
No, thank you.
Mr. Noriakis?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Anderson?
I'm fine, thanks.
Mr. Quant?
No, thank you.
Mr. Eggleton? No, thank you. Gee whiz, we're going to adjourn the meeting.